Welcome to LollieTasking with ADHD. I am your host, Dr. Lola, a multi-passionate mom of three, a physician, and an ADHD life coach because, like most of you amazing women listening, I have ADHD. Join me as we chat about how ADHD affects our lives and learn strategies to help us all thrive, not just survive, with ADHD so we can live the life we want while accomplishing all our goals. Let's get started.
Hello, LollieTaskers. Again, I am Dr. Lola, a physician and ADHD trained life coach, and I teach easily distracted women, be it moms or women with ADHD or ADHD-like symptoms, how to easily use strategic ways to maximize their time and focus while decreasing overwhelm. So, they can finally reach their full potential, right? Without stress, with ease, and ultimately have fulfillment in the life that they want, right? So that's all I'm about. Thank you for being here. If you don't know me, that's just a little bit about myself. And I have this podcast mainly as a way to give back to my fellow moms, my fellow women, my fellow amazing people with ADHD or just even ADHD like symptoms, because I know not everybody who listens to this podcast has been formally diagnosed. And I always tell people, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you call it potato or potato. The question is, does it taste good, right? So it doesn't matter what label we give it. Do you have these symptoms of ADHD or ADHD like symptoms? And are what I'm teaching you, are they helping you be a better version of yourself? And if the answer is yes, well then welcome here. It is very nice to have you. So I wasn't here last week. Last week was my birthday, and you guys know how I love to take my break. Yes, it was fantastic. I had a surprise mini vacay with the family, and it was great. It was just a day of just resting and just getting ourselves together. And I am so grateful for my family. I'm grateful for another year that God has placed me on this earth. So I'm so excited. This is another year to go. All right. So after my birthday, the day after my birthday is technically my new year, right? Like I always do a lot of reflection and kind of think about, okay, where do I want to go? Believe it or not, three, four, no, yeah, wow, yeah. 3 years ago, on my birthday was when I decided I was going to start a podcast called Bossy Mommy and LollieTasking. At that time, it was just LollieTasking. And that's how all my journey started. It always starts like that. So, again, during this time, I was just kind of reflecting on how things are. There's some things I'm happy with, there's some things that could be better. But at the end of the day, I'm not where I used to be, right? So, I'm very grateful to God for that. So anyway, in me reflected, I started thinking about, like emotional dysregulation and my biggest part of my ADHD that I still struggle with is emotional boundaries. Like I'm just gonna be vulnerable to you guys. It's really hard, And I was reflecting about something that happened a couple of weeks ago, where I felt like my character was being tested. And we're very allergic to lies. Do you guys feel the same way I feel? Like I hate when people lie on me. I know hate is a strong word, but I literally hate when people lie on me or when I feel like I'm being misunderstood or especially when I have the best intentions and then my character is assassinated. Like that right there always like just throws me over the edge, and it's something I'm still working on, right? Like we're not perfect, right? I got my schedule down, I got all my other organizations start, but the emotional part is something you have to continue to work on because situation changes, right? Things change, how you respond change as you grow, as things happen. You have to continue to evolve, and that's what growth is, and that's what being a human is. So anyway, so as you guys know, people with ADHD are typically empaths. We tend to carry other people's feelings and put it on ourselves as as if it's ours, like we don't have enough thing to deal with, right? It is as though we are the one suffering, right? So we have our own suffering and then we carry other people's suffering. And like I said, listen, this is one of my toughest part with my ADHD. This is where I have the biggest issue, but at the same time, I think it's one of my best characteristics. Like people talk about how I'm so empathetic, how I'm a good listener, I'm a good physician, I'm able to connect with people, and it also makes me a good coach, right? Because I'm able to hear you even in the midst of the things that you're not even saying, right? So my default is always to help. And that's why, like, if you tell me you have ADHD, guess what? I am telling you to get a coach, right? Because I don't want you to see you suffer. I know that there's a better way out there. So in me telling you to get a coach is not necessarily me wanting to sell to you. It's really me wanting you to be the best version of yourself, right? I can't help it. It is just what it is, right? And half the time, I've had people who I'm like, you know what? I can get you another coach. You don't have to be with me. I just want you to be the best version of yourself because I know there's hope out there for you, right? So, yes, I'm working on it. I'm working on it, but I don't necessarily think it's all the way bad. It's all the way bad when you don't have boundaries, however, right? So, but the thing though is that the reason why it really is bad is not the fact that we're empaths, is the fact that we are empaths to a fault, right? We're empaths and we deprive loving and caring for ourselves for the sake of saving other people, right? I mean, anyone has been where I have been knows that it is so exhausting after a long day and you taking care of yourself and then you find out something happened to a friend and all of a sudden it's like it's happening to you, and it can become overwhelming in addition to being exhausting, you know. It's bad enough you're carrying your own burden and now you want to carry everybody else's burden. And when that happens, what that shows me is that you have limited emotional boundaries. We are very selfless people to a fault. Very, very selfless. But at the end of the day, if you're not taking care of yourself, you truly cannot take care of that person the best way you should be taking care of them. Okay? So it's so funny. Like there's ever times that I like feel like I need to help and I overhelp. Have you guys overhelped people before? And they're like, "Girl, who asked you?" You know, like I didn't ask you to do all that because it's kind of disempowering when you just assume people want you to help them, right? Living in our head, we tell ourselves so many stories like, oh, no one else can help this person. It's up to me. But really, like, there's really no one else to help that person in this entire world. And we're not realizing that we don't set boundaries. So when we're not setting boundaries, we're not honoring ourselves. And when we're not honoring ourselves, we're not being authentic to the inner self. Okay? But when we hear boundaries, we run, right? Because we see it as being confined. We hate being confined. You know, we're not realizing that boundaries gives you true freedom. Boundary does not mean you stop caring for people. Boundaries just means you understand that person's energy and it can how it can impact you significantly. So you have the power to care about the person, care, but not carry CARRY their issues. We need to learn to continue to be present and listen and give our opinion without attachment to the results. This fosters the best relationship because the person you're talking to is not thinking, oh my gosh, she thinks she knows how my life is, right? All I want to do is vent to you. Have you had some friends say, I don't need you doing all that. I just want to vent. Is it okay if I vent? So, guess what? For me, I start asking people, are you venting to me? Do you want my advice or do you want me to help you? It is important not to assume, okay? Especially when we are being empaths. So here are about five to six things that I have done, and I think it's helpful. That's helped with emotional, having that emotional boundaries. Okay. Number where awareness. You guys know I talk about awareness all the time. Be aware of how certain things affect you. Be aware of who you are and make a commitment to your own feelings and make sure that you are okay with who you are. Because if you're not okay with who you are, it is easy to just go with the wind and the flow. It is okay to detach yourself from people that do not give you peace, especially when they are trolls or people that have no say in your life. Block was invented for a reason. Block is a very, very effective tool. I always try to talk to the person first, but I feel like if this is a recurrent thing that they do, I don't need to tolerate it. And I am not talking about constructive feedback. I'm talking about the negative, unconstructive criticism that tends to affect me or affect my performance or affect me being at the top of my game because I do not currently believe in myself, right? Because someone else has said something else about me. The second thing is checking your stories. What stories are you telling yourself? Do not ever assume they need your help. Always ask if people need your help. It can actually be condescending, as I said earlier, to think everyone needs your help. And also, don't assume you will be mad at them or they'll be mad at you if you said no. They always just catastrophize, right? So, in you catastrophizing, maybe you say no, and then all of a sudden they would think, oh, they're never going to like us again. No, they may actually appreciate the fact that you said no. Number three is stand up for yourself. Let people know when your boundaries have been crossed. You may need to start informing them, especially if you have allowed them in the past to get away with it. Okay? We are very emotional, and it is very important to ask for clarification. All the time, I'm always asking for clarification. When we feel wronged, then discuss it on how it affects us without attack. The trick is to stand up with the intent of love and benefit from the doubts. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Intention to always lead with love is so important. You loved once sometimes are the big your loved ones, I'm sorry, sometimes are the biggest culprit. Let them know it's not okay to talk to you anyhow, and let them know that you will no longer be appreciating it. Don't let everything bother you. Number four, don't let everything bother you. Think how this will affect you in 5 years, right? If it's not going to affect you in 5 years, don't worry about it. I saw this article the other day and I'm going to read it. It says, imagine this. If you had $86,400 in your account and someone steals $10 from you, would you be so upset and throw all the remaining 86,390 away in hopes of getting at the person, or move on and leave? So what would you do? You probably will move on and move on, right? Yeah. So right when you move on, we all have 86,400 seconds. 10 seconds was ruined, and we want to ruin the entire day. That's how I think about it. Number five, realize that setting boundaries is having compassion for yourself and blocking negative energies that affect you because of ADHD. ADHD is an energy diagnosis, and our feelings affect our dopamine significantly. the happier we are, the better we do. Okay? So, the last and certainly not the least is remove yourself from any situation that does not bring value to you. It's okay. You don't have to be everywhere. If it's not bringing value to you, remove yourself. So I saw this online, and I'm going to give a shout out to at the holistic psychologist. And I thought it would be great just to give people ideas of what we need by boundaries. Because a lot of us do not like confrontation, but boundaries are not necessarily confrontation. So I'm going to read some examples that she posted. Number one, there's something wrong with you and I'm not taking it anymore. That's not a boundary. A boundary would be if you continue to yell and not allow me to speak, I won't communicate with you. An example of a not so boundary again is I'm not a superior, I can't do everything. What don't you understand? A boundary would be going forward, I won't be able to have a dinner ready on Fridays with my schedule. Example of a last boundary is if this happens one more time, I'm done. You see. A boundary is I feel very hurt when you don't understand or consider me in making decisions. I would need to be included in making them going forward. You see how the boundary does not necessarily seem like you're being mean to them? It's more communicating your feelings and what would help you be a better person. So consider setting appropriate boundaries, okay? It is very important. So, in lonely summary, remember you determine your worth. You can't control anyone but yourself. Your emotional reaction based on what how someone acts determines how much power they have over you, and you are not required to set yourself on fire to keep everyone else warm. That being said, part of setting boundaries sometimes starts with knowing what your value system is. In Create Systems to Thrive, which is a 1 day workshop or replenish shop, is we work on this. We work on your planning, calendaring, everything for all areas of your life. Your mind, your body, your soul, your children, your work, everything. You know. So usually I do this twice a year, and lucky you, the next one is August 13th. It helps busy women who are ready to accomplish their goals and be fulfilled in their work and their life. We have a day of implementation and action with accountability for busy, overwhelmed women, okay? So you can learn the systems and automation that I use and I teach other women and they successfully use as well to thrive in spite of their reasons, even if they have ADHD. So I give you all blueprints and tips and plans in addition to you customizing it for yourself. Okay. After the session is done, I am also giving all participants 6 months of accountability for your planning, um, which is basically weekly and monthly. Okay. So if this sounds like something you will be interested in, go ahead and click the link in my show notes to register. If you are listening to this in the future, you can register for future workshops because places are always limited and I only do this twice a year. If you cannot walk or join us, a lot of the time I record this thing so you still have access to it, okay? So I think that's it for another episode. So before you leave today, I want to ask you, what is that one thing you're going to work on? Right? Yes, emotional boundaries, but that seems so broad. What is the one thing you're going to work on? Is it learning how to say no more often? Right? Work on that because the more you work on it, the more habits it become and the more automated it becomes. Okay? So I'm going to end with this quote. Usually I do a quote, but I actually want to end with a long sentence, I suppose. And it's called Repeat After Me. Oh. It's not called repeat after me. I'm just like, repeat after me. I don't need to do what everyone wants me to do. I don't have to anticipate people's needs. I don't need anyone to approve of me. I don't have to explain myself. I don't need to feel guilty, about my boundaries. I don't have to say yes if I don't want to. I don't need to feel bad for staying home. I don't need to overextend myself to be enough. I don't have to maximize my emotion. I don't need to pretend and I am different than I am. So I don't have to put others before myself. So this poem is talking about putting yourself first. Then once you've put yourself first, everything else falls into place. Okay. So that's it. Thank you for hanging out with us with another amazing episode. I hope you had something you could take out of this episode. If you need help and just want to give a shout out, go ahead and leave a comment, like, and subscribe. And if you want to join our biannually coaching group, so it is accomplishwithease.com/CST underscore ADHD. Okay? All right. So don't forget to follow us on IG and Facebook and everybody and everywhere else. It is so nice to meet you. If you have any questions, don't ever feel like you're a stranger. Okay?
Thanks for hanging out with us on another episode of LollieTasking with ADHD. If you like what you've heard today, I would love for you to click the subscribe button, rate, and leave a great review, in addition to sharing with your friends. Your review allows visibility and also allows other amazing women to find this podcast. Also, if you have any questions or topics you would like for us to discuss, please contact me via direct message on Instagram at LollieTasker or email us at hello@LollieTasking.com. Till next time, this is LollieTasking with ADHD.